Okay, on to page 2. Page 2 looks at fractions and bedmass, and there might be a number of things that you may not remember what to do with fractions, so hopefully this video will make it a little bit easier for you. Let's start with adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting fractions is the hardest part. The reason why is you can't just go 4 and 6. That's not right at all. You have to make sure that the denominators or the bottoms are the same, so both of them would have to have a 4. Or a number that works. In this case, you can turn the 2 into a 4 by multiplying by 2. So the first fraction's good, just leave it. The second fraction we can turn into a 4 by timesing by 2, and you do the same to the top. So you would get 3 over 4 plus 2 over 4, and you would get 5 over 4. And for our class, you can leave them as improper fractions. I don't need you to turn them into mixed fractions, so just leave it like that. If you can reduce the fraction, then do so, but here you can't. So just leave it as 5 over 4. Okay, on this question, same idea, except that you cannot turn the 2 into 5. So you'll have to think of a common bottom. A simple one here would be 10, and you could figure that out by multiplying the numbers together. And the other way we could figure it out is, remember, by writing out the multiples, so like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 5, 10, 15, and then find the one that's the same. But for most of the questions we're going to do, this works quite well. So 10 will work. I'm going to change the first one by multiplying by 2, and on the second one, I would be multiplying by 5 and by 5. And I'll just scroll down here. So here we get negative 8 over 10 plus 5 over 10. And when you add or subtract fractions, remember the bottom stays the same, but use your number line. So if you still struggle with negative 8 plus 5, use your number line. Don't just try to do it in your head and get the question wrong. So if you're 8 floors below ground and you're only going up 5 floors, you're still going to be negative 3 floors below ground. You can't simplify this, so you're done. For questions like this, don't get suckered into seeing the negatives and thinking that they're subtracting. These two are actually multiplying together, so there should be a big multiplication sign between these. And when you multiply fractions, there's two ways to do this. I'm going to suggest you do it the first way. The first way is to try to cancel numbers on top and bottom, and you can pick, so let me just show you what I mean. If you had a fraction here times another fraction, you can pick partners this way, or you can pick partners that way. So top and bottom, top and bottom. But you cannot pick partners left and right. You can't do that. So you need to make sure that you're picking a partner on the top and the bottom, and it doesn't matter anywhere on the top or bottom, as long as one's on the top and one's on the bottom. So here, I look for ones that compare up. 12 and 4 compare up, because I can divide 4 out of both of them. 4 divided by 4 would be 1, and 12 divided by 4 would be 3. And now the question is really simple, because negative 5 times 1 is just negative 5, and 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. And when you multiply fractions, you don't have to have common bottoms. You just multiply across. Now the other thing you could have done here is just go negative 5 times 4 is negative 20, and then 12 times negative 3 would be negative 36. And then if you simplify this, you would get the same thing as that. But that's more work. So I would do it the first way, with canceling first. Now you're not done here. Don't leave your answer like this. Cancel the negatives so that you get 5 over 9. And that would be your answer. Dividing fractions. Now I tried to trick you on this question by making the question look more complicated than it really is. If you ever see double negatives, it's just like a hint. Get rid of them. So here, let's just cancel them, because a negative and a negative will make a positive. So really I just have 2 over 3 divided by 8 over negative 6. And the rule we learned when we divide fractions is just turn the second one and flip it, also called a reciprocal, and then just turn it to multiplication. So you leave the first one, make it a times, and flip the second one. And then just multiply across or cancel if you can. Here I actually can cancel really easily. The 2 can work with the 8 because I can divide it 2 and I get 1 and divide by 2 and I get 4. And you can also do it again. The 6 and the 3 will work because I can divide 3 out of both of them. Here I would go negative 6 divided by 3 would be negative 2. Negative 3 divided by 3 would be 1. So when I move over here, I would get negative 2 over 4. And you can simplify this even further because we can divide 2 out of both of them. So you would get negative 1/2 would be your answer. Now again, if you're not very good at canceling, then you don't have to do it this way. The other thing you could have done here, and I'll just show it really quickly, is you could have just multiplied across. So we did have 2 times negative 6 here. You would just get negative 12. And then on the bottom you had 3 times 8 and you would get 24. And if you reduced it, you would still get to negative 1/2 by dividing by 2 or dividing by 12 or 6 or 4. So you don't have to do it that way. So whatever way you like doing, do that way. But I would suggest for questions with big numbers to cancel before. Okay, next one. This question I'm not going to solve, but I'm just going to show you really quickly what to do. What you should do is turn this into a mixed fraction, or sorry, improper fraction. So this would be 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 would be 7 over 2, plus 1 over 5, and then you would just use the same thing we showed above. So if you see any of them in mixed form, turn them into improper. And that's really the reason why I want you to practice more improper than mixed, because you use them a lot more. This one is probably the hardest question of all of them. And when you see brackets, just try to get rid of the brackets wherever you can. Here there's nothing in front of the negative 4 over 5. There's no double sign, so just write it without the bracket. Here, the plus and the 3 go together, so just combine them. Here you have to fix it, because you've got a negative and you got a negative. Double sign becomes positive 2 over 20. Now that looks a lot better than what was above. And the goal here is to have all the bottoms the same. And in these questions, I'll try to make them a little bit easier for you. You're going to always try to turn to a bigger number. So 20 here would be your bigger number. And we can turn 5 by multiplying by 4. And 3 by multiplying by 2. So you would get negative 16 over 20 plus 6 over 20 plus 2 over 20. And then you just use your number line to add them across. Remember, the bottom stays the same. And do them one at a time. So negative 16 and 6, you would get negative 10. Negative 10 plus 2, you would get negative 8. Now the thing is, you don't want to leave your question like that. Always try to reduce wherever you can. So again, look at the question. And I'm going to just move over here. Look at the question and try to reduce it. 2 works for this. Divide by 2, you would get negative 4 over 10. And do it one more time. Let's go up here. You would get negative 2 over 5. And you are done. That's it. Okay, on to the next part. BEDMAS. Now, BEDMAS, remember, is saying division and multiplication have to happen before addition subtraction. And what you do is you look at the numbers. There's a number, there's a number, and there's a number. And you look at the operations or what it's doing. Here it's dividing between these two. And here, if I made this easier, it would be subtracting. So what I mean is this. If I wrote this as negative 25 divided by 5, get rid of your double sign first, so you get negative 6. Division has to happen first before subtraction. So it means that these two have to be divided first. Don't go 5 minus 6. That's not right at all. So negative 25 divided by 5, a negative and a positive will make a negative when you multiply and divide. And 25 divided by 5 will be just 5. then bring down your negative 6, and then use your number line, because now you're subtracting. So negative 5 minus 6 will be negative 11. Okay, same thing here. This one I won't spend as much time on. Get rid of your double sign. So you have 8. That is a double sign. Minus 18. Divide by 3. And in your mind, you want to go 8 minus 18 right away. Don't do it. Do the division first. And remember, when there is a sign in front of the number, it's attached to the number. So you're going minus 18 is the same as negative 18. So you're going negative 18 divided by 3, and you will get negative 6. And then you just bring down your 8. And now you just have 8 minus 6, and you get 2. So that's the guide for, let's see if there's any more questions here. That's the guide for page 2. Hopefully you watch page 3.